You can hear that on the audio on here. It's going up, 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 up. I don't know why it catches that so much. Let's see here. Gonna let this go for a minute and see if anybody comes to the live stream. Let's see. If you're here, let me know. This is just a random last minute live stream. If anybody is here, let me see. Hey! Hello, Tall Guy. Hello, Tenzin. Hello, Phantom Zone. Hey, it's been a while since we've had a live stream, so I thought we should try it out since I did that one test and it kind of worked out. So I might do a few things in here to see if... Looks like there's Tall Guy, Tenzin, Phantom Zone. And me. And my husband's in the living room, if that counts. I said that we need his commentary while I read. I'm going to see if I can insert stuff in here while people... Hey, Tank, how you doing? How you feeling? Last minute live stream. I went to record this morning, and it was actually stories from Ask Reddit, and every time I read them like the automated voice that reads stuff for you. No, like I couldn't read it any other way. I sounded like a robot. So, and it was really nice outside today. So yeah. Plus I had some other things I had to do. So I couldn't bring myself to sit in there and then not have the stories even sound good. So yeah. Uh-oh. Okay, I thought I accidentally hit the end stream button. So, okay, surviving. Thank God. All right, let me see. I'm going to try and see if I can find a different video for the background. Maybe while people are just like maybe coming on into the live stream. You guys let me know if you have any requests since you guys are all here. Oh man. Sneezing. Yeah, I bet it does. You guys let me know if you have any requests since you guys are here first. I think I might change this name. I've had this name since I opened my channel in 2006. Do you have content on your channel, Tall Guy? I have another channel that I had some videos on, but like, eh. Then I tried to change to something else. I'm like, eh. Now I was thinking about making it an art channel just to mess around because I do a lot of... I don't sell any art, but I like to create stuff. Some of it's good, some of it's garbage. Who knows? But if you guys have any requests and stuff, please feel free to put them in the chat right there. Just trying to see if I can find something kind of cool to put up as the background since you've seen that. If I can't, not a big deal. Plus, I'm also going to see... Remember me saying something about not being able to do certain live streams because I don't know how to share the screen, but I think I can upload pictures while we're on here. Oh, look, this thing said there was 2 minutes. 75% over the last 2 minutes. Is this lagging a lot, you guys? You guys are going to have to let me know if it's lagging because it looks like I have a minute ago and 3 minutes ago. Oobaloo would be cool. I'll have to look that up and see if I can find any stories on that. Oobaloo. Oobaloo. Let me see if I can change this to something else here. While you guys read or leave some suggestions in there. If I can't figure out how to change the background, then I'll know that I can't do it. Like, hold on a minute. First of all, I'm going to see if I can change the picture in the background just to see if I can change anything while I'm live streaming. There is a lag on the chat, but not a lag in the... Okay, Request Reddit no sleep. Neighbors, woods, lots of options. I'm not sure. Like I had Ask Reddit on there because it's more like a question and answer type of forum. Reddit got really mad at YouTubers for stealing their written stories. When you go to No Sleep, you specifically need to ask the authors before you read their stories. That's why I started the Hotel Bella Muerte. I don't know. People don't seem to really like it though, so I'm not sure if it's going to continue. There is a lag on the chat. It's not lagging on you. Okay. I'm going to see if I can change the source of the video. Just testing some things out here. So give me a minute here. I want to see if I can change the image in the background while we're on the live stream. Add a new source instead. I just want to see if it's going to work, because that means that I could then actually have, oh, I think it's going to work too. I think it's going to work. Holy moly, I think I just did it. I can always change it back to something else, but it's kind of like now it's over the chat thing. So maybe what I could do is, if I have a video already playing in the background. Okay, that was a test just to see if I could I'll just get rid of that. Let me see if I can get rid of that. There we go. I wanted to see if I can add photos during a live stream, because that would mean that I could do like, oh, I don't know, Serial Killer Saturdays. Oh my god. Oh yeah. Kudos to you, Tank. It keeps repeating. What keeps repeating? Oh, you do like the hotel one? Oh, okay. I think it's an I think it's a really neat story, but I don't think it's necessarily scary. Also, the urban legends, I don't think they're scary either. Honestly. Like, I feel like if it's not scaring me, it's not scaring the audience, and that's kind of the point, right? I don't know. You hear no repeats? Okay. So it looks like I have one notification. Skipped frames. So it keeps saying skipped frames. I think that's the video. If it's the audio, please let me know. It was repeating my voice and it's not doing it anymore. Okay. All right. Now somebody said Oobaloo. Is that right? Oobaloo. Oh. The Google Voice thought I said Shoobaloo. I'm not familiar. Oh my gosh, it's not really letting me. Oobaloo. It doesn't need to be scary to be enjoyable. Yeah, I know there's some channels on YouTube that literally just read. There's some romance reading channels. There's some dramatic read channels. That's right, Shoobaloo. If I would have said it to Siri, she probably would have thought I said chewing gum. What is it? Is it a like your voice though when you're reading the urban legends and so on? They're interesting to me, and that's what I heard from you when I first started listening. Oh, thank you. When I first started doing, I always mixed true stories and creepypastas, and I really do. Of all of them, I really, really like creepypastas. That's my favorite. When I first started my channel, I wrote almost everything I read on the channel, which can be pretty exhausting. All right, what is an Oobaloo? What is it? It thought I asked it what is a balloon? Oh my gosh. The definition of hullabaloo. Hey, these stories might not happen tonight. Okay. Numerology. Who requested this? Explain yourself. Do we have stories of possession? See, that would also be cool because then if I found videos and we live streamed, I could show them in that little square, that little space where the chat is in existence. So, Blue is a creepy pasta. Oh, yeah, yeah. People tend. It says I have one viewer. That cannot be correct. Is that just you, honey? Maybe. Oh my goodness. All right, hold on a second. I'm going to go back where I was earlier. I found a bunch of night shift stories on Reddit myself. And then I found a bunch of, it was psychiatrist, what's the most unusual mental condition that you've dealt with? And there's some that I have never, ever heard of. I had like 8 pages for each different. Here it is. Yeah. Some of my stories that I wrote, I put private because a lot of them have less than 100 views. I think I'm gonna redo them all because that's before I had like any kind of regular mic. I was just talking into this kind of headset thing like I am right now. Anything with demonic or possession ain't my thing though. It's cool if others like it. Oh yeah. Let's see here. I'm gonna go to the very bottom. That's where I started earlier. All right, let's see here. Whoa, there's a lot. Somebody asked Reddit this morning, and this already has so many entries. And it's not just like these psychologists, but people that have dealt with people in their family, or if they worked in a mental hospital, they had it. So, puns intended. Tank. Mental conditions can be nuts. All right, this one says, so just so we're clear, I'm reading Ask Reddit. It asks psychologists, what's the most unusual mental condition that hey cats, that you've dealt with? Squirrel. This one says, I'm not a psychologist, but my wife is a therapist. When she was getting her master's, her professor, who was a psychiatrist, shared a patient case study. The young male would go into public restrooms and find stalls with poop in them that hadn't been flushed. He'd take it out with his hands, play with it while himself. I forgot all the details, but basically the guy couldn't complete without direct exposure to poop. They explained it as somehow connected to his religious upbringing, and only release he could have was during his puberty. Oh no. Oh my god, I can't even finish reading that. It's so gross. We're moving on. Ew. Oh, I haven't read one that I wrote in a really long time. Thank you, Tenzin. That's really nice. Oh no, I'm sorry, cats. Okay, this one says loss of self. The human mind is simple yet complex. Why do you believe you're cold? That's merely a sensation. Physical sensations are simple yet accurate. You feel the cold in the absence of heat. The mind is very similar. The loss of self-identity can happen. The self, the fusion of one's desires, can also be lost. So then that begs the question, what happens to the body when you lose your sense of self? Do you remain? Are you still you? Can you interact with the outside world? Do you still feel cold? Can you feel physical desires? If you cannot, it begs the question of who is using your physical body. Is it the hidden desires of the mind or something else? It's incredibly fascinating to me, especially since the requirement of faith is still necessary to achieve goals. What? So when you no longer have faith in yourself or anyone or anything, can you still be called yourself? I don't believe so. The original self is absorbed into whatever the alter ego is dominant. From there, it's anybody's guess. To bring back the self, one must ask a very serious question. Oh, goodness gracious. So that wasn't a psychiatrist. That person needs to see a psychiatrist. Come on, Ask Reddit. Where's the mods? Toxic zombies. Heck yeah. Very odd indeed. Okay, let's see. I'm sure most psychologists aren't actually on Reddit, and the majority of the replies will be from those without a degree or the 4-year counselors that didn't do the 6 years to be the real thing. Okay, somebody remove that. Okay. This is like rubbing into my leg. Okay. Psychologist here. I've practiced psychology for 22 years. I actually got into through my interest in holistic medicine. Strangest part I ever had was this guy who, despite only being 22 years old, couldn't stop impersonating a seasoned psychologist so much that he would occasionally speak about himself in the third person as if he were his own psychologist. What? How could you keep your composure during that kind of a session? Hold on a second. There was more. Looks like the mods went through and removed some. I have a couple of diagnosed things. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I have PTSD and CPTSD. But a lot of my issues don't apparently fit that. Among them are an unusual severe sleep disturbance where I self-harm in my sleep. Recently, that has included punching my own teeth out, and most recently trying to cut a toe off with a knife while sound asleep. I've had unaliving idolation, not unusual for PTSD, but I also get severe anxiety to the extent that I suffer from total disassociation. Again, not super unusual. What is and has the docs concerned is they can come together. For example, I was driving at 70 miles per hour and disassociated, but was aware of my hand undoing the seatbelt and my body wanting to crash. I'm getting help, and they think that a couple of known brain injuries I suffered from a time ago are having an impact. Wow. Whose birthday is it? Whose birthday is it? Is it yours, Element? Okay. Dissociative identity disorder, or commonly known as double personality. That's really not what it's meant to be. Craziest disorder I've ever known. It's really rare and only happens when a person suffers a lot of trauma and the brain gets so damaged that in a way to protect itself creates another person. But the most messed up thing about this disorder is that once it's started, it's really easy to continue splitting. And the more alters, that's how you should call the other personalities. There has been up to 12 alters plus the main personality. Anthony Padilla, a really good YouTuber who has that disorder, is really educational. Oh, okay. Oh, it's Tank's birthday today? No, I thought his birthday was... Smokey the cat says meow to everyone. It's his birthday today too? Oh, happy birthday. Let's see, psychologist here. I had a super rare case of acquired savant syndrome. Guy is now in his 40s. Fell from a shed when he was 8. While he lost a lot of sense for what is socially normal, he can look at basically any item and then literally make it. He dropped out of high school and rode trains across the U.S. He discovered his talent when he was in his 20s, wanted a leather jacket, and since nobody told him that leather work is hard, he just picked up a friend's tools and made a legitimate leather jacket. You'd be hard-pressed to distinguish from a bought item. He now makes shoes. Every pair is a piece of art, and no two pair are ever the same. That's cool. Here's a short one called Psychogenic Polydipsia. Guy could not stop drinking water. Would drink out of the toilet when people weren't watching him. Oh. He cannot go to the bathroom at the mall by himself. Ew. Happy Meowth Day. Let's see. Has anyone ever heard of disorganized schizophrenia or hepiphrenia? I was diagnosed with it when I was 19. Here are some symptoms. Recently, the DSM got rid of the diagnosis and made it a single umbrella of just schizophrenia. I feel like I kind of got robbed in the sense that I don't hallucinate much. I mostly just can't think straight when it gets bad. Here are my symptoms. Loose associations, rapidly shifting between topics with no connections between topics. Perseveration, repeating the same things over and over again. Made up words that only have meaning to the speaker. Use of rhyming words without meaning. When cognitive disorganization is severe, it can be nearly impossible to understand what the person is saying. A decline in overall daily functioning. Unpredictable or inappropriate emotional responses. Lack of impulse control. Behaviors that appear bizarre or lack purpose. Has anyone ever heard of this before? Whoa. I hadn't. But again, it looks like they're kind of trying to separate them from that identity. This one's called FND. I've heard DSM. My aunt was diagnosed with that back in the 80s. Wow. He would probably have eternal pink eye, drinking toilet water, and stomach issues. Yeah. Ooh. Remember that bathroom I told you about when we came back from Canada when I was 19 because I wanted to go get drunk? You don't remember that bathroom? It looked like it was straight out of a horror movie. I'm afraid I'm going to get pink eye just thinking about that memory of that bathroom. I can't imagine anyone drinking out of that toilet. Ooh. Okay, this one's called FND, Functional Neurological Disorder. People have neurological conditions that are not neurologically explained. I had a patient who, when she was stressing, her right side was getting weak. She thought she had a stroke. Neurologist did all the tests, and no neurological damage was found. She was diagnosed with FND, and they referred her to me for therapy. As for FND, CBT is the only thing that can help. Fascinating disorder, but very difficult to work with, as most patients don't believe that it's not a neurological problem. Whoa. Battery about to die soon. We'll probably end my visit here. Oh no. I think we're going to be here for a little while. It's been a while since we've got to live stream, so. I'm not talking midnight or anything, because I'm like 175, but you know.
We got some toilet water gin to drink.
Toilet water. We got to make some toilet wine, or toilet scotch. Is that a thing? Toilet scotch? Scotch, 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 scotchy, scotch, scotch.
That's a big deal.
Kind of a big deal. I don't know if that just ruined someone's eardrum if they have an earbud in. I'm so sorry. All right. Hope you make it back too, tall guy. Working in the ER, I got to see many weird, odd behaviors. One was mass hysteria. A local 14-year-old was murdered and his community all turned out for the funeral. During the funeral service, a family member had a pseudo-seizure that left her unconscious. Before the EMTs arrived and the pseudo-seizures, followed by unconsciousness, swept through the congregation like wildfire. Soon everyone was seizing or unconscious. The EMTs on site called for reinforcements, thinking it was a toxic inhalation from a nearby industry. Soon a parade of ambulances began dropping off patients in the ER and would head back for another load of unconscious patients. Upon examination of the patients, it was found they really weren't unconscious, but were just feigning the seizure unconscious episode. We got about 40 patients from the mass hysteria event, but only saw about half of them before the other half got bored and were miraculously healed prior to their examination. Nothing was ever found as a potential cause. That's weird. But you've heard of mass hysteria before. Remember when they did that one, what's that thing where they did that radio show with the fake alien invasion? Someone's going to probably say it before. 60% of the time it works every time. Dang it. War of the Worlds. And people really thought it was happening, and they started freaking out. Like, didn't he get in trouble for that? Yeah, they didn't have visual ways of confirming news stories yet. So people thought this was really happening.
Didn't have Twitter.
Yeah, people really freaked out. Damn Skippy football. Coast to coast. I want recess. Oh, Reese's now. Let's see. Psychologist here, not terribly wild, but the odd delusional disorder I've seen has been totally fascinating and a little terrifying. Picture a person that presents as entirely logical, rational, and with a few or none of the negative symptoms of schizophrenia. They're expressive, engaging, good range of emotions. By all accounts, nothing is out of ordinary except they have developed a belief or system of beliefs involving persecution, grandiosity, or about their health or bodily functions. They are bright, engaging enough that your initial thoughts are that it must be true what they're saying. Because of course they don't show up and say there's this thing I believe that can't be real. Instead, it demonstrates itself slowly as you explore in these cases some rather typical issues. I feel like that person just talked in circles. You know, there's some people that they're really smart and they want everyone to know that they're smart, so they use big words. And really, if you deciphered it and used a thesaurus and broke it down, it would be the same sentence repeated 3 or 4 times. Have you known anyone like that? The most unusual one this one has dealt with said that it was probably psychosis, because it can manifest in such a broad spectrum of symptoms, ranging from the classic ones like voices and delusions to eyes rolling up in one's head, not being able to walk. It's so individual, and working with psychotic patients is very different every time. In my opinion, the classificatory diagnosis definition of psychosis doesn't do the actual syndrome justice. Okay, yeah, so it would probably manifest itself different in every person, like based off their deep rooted fear, or deepest root fear. Does that make sense? Your psychosis will be different from mine. You're afraid of flying.
Afraid of bills.
You're not afraid. You're afraid of flying. My husband's afraid of flying.
I love to watch airplane disasters.
He likes to watch airplane disasters, ensuring that we will never get to take a trip anywhere that involves a long plane flight. Because I'll have to shoot him with an animal tranquilizer to Get him to be quiet on the plane.
I've flown several times.
Conversational narcissism. Yeah, I wonder if that's a condition in here. It probably can't be because all the psychologists that are replying to this Reddit thread all have it. Oh my gosh. Okay, psych student. The whole area around phantom limbs is interesting, but the opposite seems like it would be super distressing. Basically, some people feel like parts of them don't belong to them. Remember, I did a creepypasta on that. People that were wanting to have their limbs cut off, and they were meeting like this doctor at their house, and the doctor would do it, but right before, like, he sedated them before he did the amputation, he gave them a medicine that cured this desire to have their limbs cut off, and then he cut them off anyway. I know. That's really messed up. Ooh, oh yeah, oh no, Tank said he has that feeling right now.
What feeling? Snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap.
Oh no. Oh no. See, that's the best creepy. I don't even think they should be creepypastas. They're just scary stories. But those are my favorite. When they feel like they could be real, those are my favorite ones. But actually, when somebody can do that in like 3 or 4 sentences, that really messes with your mind. Like, because you have mental whiplash. Like, what just happened? I don't know what just happened. Those are hard to come by, actually. People are weird. People are strange. Conversion disorder, the inability to walk without there being anything wrong physically. One of the... Oops. Thought I was going to burp into the microphone, so I would try to move it away from my face, and then it got caught on my glasses. One of the few disorders for which hypnosis is actually the preferred treatment option. Wow. And someone else said, conversion disorders can cause all manner of symptoms like fainting, seizures, blindness, etc. Oh, yeah. What? What did you say?
I'll just hypnosis.
Way down. Oh, that reminds me when I said hypnosis. So I was looking for comedy clubs near us so we could like do something fun. And there's like an improv theater that's like, I think it said it was in Ferndale. But at one of the comedy clubs, there's going to be a hypnotist there. And that sounds so fun. Like, I really, really want to do that. Because I don't think I can actually get hypnotized. I don't think it would work.
Too stubborn.
I think you could be hypnotized. You snore super loud and you don't even wake yourself up. I hear every single noise in this house. Unless the fan's on, and then I still do.
Wake me up. Most of them don't.
That sounds like something that would happen to you. Oh, the microphone get caught in your glasses? Just trying to save everyone. I end up hurting myself every time. Oh my goodness. I'm going to scroll up a little bit. Okay. Okay, this one says, I'm no psychologist, so will be deleted apparently. Well, it wasn't. It was 15 hours ago, so it's fine. I was diagnosed NOSPD, non-otherwise specified psychotic disorder, at 17. If I had all the medical terminology or knowledge of so, it'd be easier for me to explain it. One of my recurring episodes was channeling aliens through the mirror. Hey, now, you know what? There's probably people out there that think that's something you can really do, so I'm not judging you. I would stand for hours, spazzing out with my reflection. Also, since we're talking about mirrors, somebody said, what if the person that you see in the mirror is actually another version of you, but you stop yourself from constantly trying to go through the mirror?
It is because the person behind the mirror feels no pain.
Oh, Michael. Oh, isn't that a song lyric?
Nope.
Oh, oh, I thought you were gonna keep going. Okay, I'm sorry. Under the right conditions? Oh my gosh. Hypnotize me to always get the right lottery numbers. Oh, thank you. Anyways, let's go back to this, okay? I would stand for hours, spazzing out at my reflection. Also, I was believed to be underdeveloped psychologically and was glimpsing into a world with endless amounts of resource at the instance of thought. So there I was with running out of gas, begging my friends to focus all their energy into the gas tank so we can leave the hood. Years later, many other occurrences of NOSPD came out. Invega Sustenna was the one psychiatric drug that could deal with it if it was absolutely out of control. Not a fan of medicine until reality starts stripping my time. Okay, that's hard. Because of course, like, you feel like I don't need that medicine. But then, like, okay, 2 days have gone by and you just have sat there for 2 days and you don't realize that you just sat somewhere for 2 straight days. You have no concept of time at all. That's scary. Aliens. Dun dun dun.
That's called Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, so that's what I. So there, Tank, when you're saying scrying, that's why it's hard to know. Like, if you're someone who's open to things, like, there's people that they're mediumships or I don't know if they're technically mediums or psychics. That's kind of a gray area for me. But they do tend to use mirrors for spirit communication. So sometimes, what if people like that one in particular? I'm not sure about the aliens or the gas tank, but what if he had a special, like, obviously you cannot fill your gas tank with thought. Not yet, anyway. But what if he did have an ability to do something special, but there's no way to know exactly how to channel that? And so the only thing we do is drug people like that. You know, I've always said that most crazy people are very intelligent, but no one knows how to communicate correctly with them or utilize their gifts or mental capacity in an appropriate way. So we just drug people, which sucks because if we could figure out a way to utilize the mental capacity like that, it probably could solve some issues, but, you know. Ooh, that level of thought with all knowledge is known as the Akashic Record. One time I was in Vegas at the Orleans. They played a Keno machine for 10 straight hours. Really? Thought, I know, right now filling gas tank with thought would be nice. Akashic Record. What'd you say?
Philokinesis.
Okay, Akashic Record. I have to look that up. I want to Google it right now before I forget that. Akashic Record. Or record. Is it like that? How do we know that he didn't transfer his consciousness into an existence that had a little gas in the tank left? Exactly. Akashic Records. I'm going to look at that I'm going to look into that. Well, I don't know. Sometimes if I start looking into things like that before I go to bed, I don't sleep, Tank. My husband will get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm still, like, wide awake. I can't go to sleep. It's quite torturous. Thank goodness. I slept good last night. Anyways. Okay, this one says Wendigo psychosis. This was not clinically diagnosed, but I've read about the disorder and met someone who said that they had experienced it. Wendigo is Algonquin myth. His function is to prevent cannibalism. The region that the Algonquins lived was a high risk of starvation and being cut off from food sources and society due to extreme winters. So there's a mythological creature called the Wendigo. We all know that. Usually we call them skinwalkers that hungers for human flesh, but no matter how much it consumes, it only becomes more and more ravenous. And part of the myth is that a human who resorts to cannibalism, even under duress, will turn into one of these creatures. Wendigo psychosis was observed in some individuals in that area where they basically believed that they were turning into this creature or were possessed by it. They would report extreme desire towards cannibalism and fear of catapulting to that desire. They would hallucinate that they were starving, that they wanted to cannibalize other people, and in lucid moments would attempt to unalive themselves to prevent this from happening. It's not actual possession. It was a psychosis that made people believe they were possessed by this creature or spirit. It was somewhat rare, but I spoke to somebody, and they were part of the Algonquin Nation, who said that they experienced a brief and mild form of this psychosis. That's definitely delving into the supernatural realm right there. I may have spelled Akashic wrong. Oh, I already found it. Tank. I already found it on Google. That'll be my hyper obsession during the night, or fixation. So, thank you for my not sleeping in advance. Clinical psychology student here. The most interesting one I've come across recently that isn't mentioned is body integrity dysphoria, formerly body integrity identity disorder, among other names. The main symptoms are the strong desire to be an amputee or paralyzed. Okay, that's what that's called. Okay, but BIID, I thought it was called. Body integrity identity disorder. So I have a video that's called BIID. I'll try and link it in the comment section of this after it's over, if anybody wants, if you haven't heard that. Let's see. The Akashic Records. It's a realm that some of the high-level physicists have claimed to dip their mind into to obtain all the knowledge of everything. It's almost like a meditative state of mind as well as endless ideas. Do you ever feel like you need a palate cleanser? Like, sometimes I can delve so deeply into a subject that I can literally make myself miserable because we live in a not so great time. Not that it was great before these last couple of years, but recently it's worse than ever. So, I had nights where I wouldn't sleep at all because I would dive into a subject and learn so much that it would leave me devastated. So sometimes I'll say to my husband, man, I wish I was stupid. And I don't mean that in an insulting way. I mean that in, like ignorance is bliss type of way. To where once you learn something, you can't unknow it. So I don't know that anyone delving into that would necessarily be someone who was experiencing any joy in life. I would think that it'd be quite a miserable existence to find out all of the knowledge of everything and have no mystery left in your life at all. Granted, there's a few things I'd like to know, but knowing everything I think would lead to a lot of misery. Because number one, how do you physically share that knowledge with everyone without them thinking you're crack a nut? Because it's an impossible feat to think that you could share that knowledge with mass amounts of people, like get mass amounts of people to that level of consciousness to where their minds were open and they could accept that thought process. That alone would be overwhelming. Oh yeah, Element. You can, there's all kinds of documentaries about that Escape from Alcatraz. I think they made it. Because how did they dig out, with a spoon or their fingers? It took them years, didn't it, to dig out an escape tunnel, Mike?
I don't remember.
I feel like if you have that much determination, you made it through that water. They say, oh, it was too cold and rough. The prison they were in was rough. Like, they made it through that. Even if they would have drowned, it would have been better. I wouldn't. If you knew everything, you could help other people. Yes, but here's the thing. Here, imagine the level of frustration. You know how to end hunger. You try to convince everyone else the way that you know how to end hunger, and no one listens to you. No one believes you. So you spend all of the rest of your life in frustration because you cannot get other people to realize that you know how to fix that problem. Like, I can only imagine that level of frustration of having the answer in your hand and not being able to transfer it to a way to utilize it. Think of how many unhappy many of the great minds of the past were. Sometimes happiness must be sacrificed for knowledge, and some were persecuted in their times for sure. If I knew everything, I would go on game shows. There are strong minds and weak minds. We are what we think. There was a couple pics that family member claimed to have one of the survivors with them, and they were definitely aged. Took about 6 months. They used old saw blade spoons and drill they made. Huh? What? Oh. Yeah, there's a lot of theories that they ended up in South America. Wasn't there a whole documentary of this one guy? Or no, that was the Hitler one, wasn't it? I'm confusing document.
A few years ago, I just don't remember it.
Let's see. Psychologist here. I had a client with schizophrenia, older gentleman, about 43 at the time. He was from Colombia and suffered river blindness when he was 15. Sometimes he couldn't distinguish his delusions from reality, which was especially difficult considering his favorite show was Ancient Aliens. That's dangerous. When I was typing his progress notes, he thought I was typing his thoughts and trying to hospitalize him. It was difficult to reality check him, but he was impressively independent for a blind man. Whoa! He was blind and he had schizophrenia? Holy moly. But you would know how to make the money to end world hunger. It's like the damn Die Hard videos. It's always about money. I still like the movies. Yeah, I hope they did survive. Like, if people were there's only like so much rehabilitation you can give someone. If they're not going to be rehabilitated and put back into society or somehow even contribute to society behind bars, why are they there? Also, I'm very glad that they're going to expunge all the marijuana records now. Congratulations for all those people that were put behind bars for weed, which is the dumbest thing ever. Yet, we have pedophiles and rapists walking the streets. Squirrel, back to the stories. Clinical psychologist here. I once encountered a man with DID. At first, I diagnosed him with dissociative amnesia and psychotic depressive disorder, as he would forget very important aspects of his day and life. But then, during an appointment, he switched right in front of me. He switched 2 more times over the next month, the alters being only slightly different from him, but had a noticeable difference in the demeanor. It was fascinating to see such a thing in a person. I read a article that said that there's some people that physically changed features about themselves when they switched personalities. Now, I don't know if that's like a muscle. Like, if you know how you can do, like, move your lips or your eyebrows a certain way. Like, I don't know if that's why, but there's one that claims that someone that had DID changed eye colors, and I literally would have to see that for myself. They broke out and we never heard from them again, so prison work for them. Yeah, exactly. I'm pretty sure that if most people got out of a second chance, they wouldn't screw up again. There's people that are sitting behind bars that shouldn't be sitting behind bars, and we all know that's a fact. Um, anyways, Morglins, a controversial condition involving skin lesions and the belief that the skin is infected by bugs or other objects like string. The condition is relatively uncommon, and the cause isn't fully understood. Testing for infection by bacteria or parasites is usually negative. I was receptionist at a doctor's office, and one of our main patients had this, and she would hand me pieces of tapes that she had captured the bugs out of her skin on, and it was just like stuff off the floor. Someone said right below that Morgellons has recently been confirmed to be a real condition in which hair-like filaments and sedimentary debris push up through the skin. It also causes mental distress. Yeah, I've seen that before. There was like a special on the Learning Channel a long time ago where there's people that had fibers literally growing out of their skin. Do you remember watching that? Maybe that was... I don't know. I remember seeing that. Oh, this one says, have you all beat. Worked in a private psych center. Dude was complaining of species dysphoria, like the gender dysphoria that might come along with being trans. But this guy thought he was a fox in a human's body, right down to certain preferences. Nothing ever came of it, but I was told to pay specific attention when I took them all for an outing to the local zoo. To this day, no way is this real. To this day, I have no idea if it's recognized as a diagnosis anywhere, but it was all over his charts. And someone else said, I don't think there's a specific diagnosis for this, but look up otherkins. Those are people who think that they are part animal or born the wrong species. I believe most of these people just see it as some sort of escape from reality or role play like furries, but it wouldn't surprise me if some actually suffer from a delusion to the extent that you described. Listen, you know our government. I think there's people that really are mixed with animals. That's probably what all the urban legends are. They're real people that were like...
Foxy lady like Darth Elgar, maybe he is.
Everyone's calling all these urban legends the witch of the Appalachian Mountains or Bigfoot, and it's just like Amy and Steve. They got captured by the government and we had all kinds of crap injected into them.
That's just Ralph.
Dang it. Don't run from me. Tell my wife I'm in the woods. Dang it. She better not have got that new furniture. I told her no. Fox to a human body. Dang.
There's a Samantha Fox.
No, touch me. Oh my gosh. My eyes do that, Tank. My eyes are like that. But I mean, they're talking like, yeah. The movie Split was terrifying, which a lot of people that have disassociative, I don't want to say it wrong, identity disorder were very upset by it because it put a stigma on their lives, because most people that have that disorder in general are not dangerous. So it was very upsetting to them. But again, it was a horror movie. It wasn't a documentary about a psychological condition. So I see both sides of it there. Let's see here. Oh no, this one has like a super, super long. I'm just going to skip it because they're not. Okay, this one. Social worker here had a kid who had a lot of indicators for being a psychopath, according to two psychiatrists and the psychologist was working with at the time. I've dealt with a lot of aggressive clients that tried to attack me and told me they would kill me or stab me. He's the only one I ever felt like he actually meant that he wanted to kill me. The only thing stopping that happening was him being 6 and me being able to grab him and hold him if he tried to grab a knife. I'm still convinced this is a boy who in 10 years will be in jail for murdering someone. One time he was eating bread, took out the butter knife, looked at me, and started stabbing his bread and told me, "I will stab you in your bleep next." Very intriguing to see that behavior on a 6-year-old. What is happening in that 6-year-old's house that would even be an occurrence in their brain? There should be more to that. I'm sure there is. They just can't tell you so much. It was a movie with a twist. Oh no. What movie were we talking about? Oh. Split. Oh goodness, okay. I used to work on an inpatient psych unit and spent some time doing case management. I still think about one case in particular. Older lady, 30 years plus of meth use under her belt. How did she survive it, first of all? Chronically homeless, of course, and a long history of abuse-related trauma. She had a deep, almost religious love for Jackson Browne. She said that they had met at a concert of his when she was a teenager and that they had this big, sweeping love affair years later. That may or may not have actually happened, but she also had a strong belief that he watched over her always, wrote several songs for her, and beamed them to her YouTube app on her phone to send her messages. She also thought he was a shapeshifter that once appeared to her as a grizzled old cowboy. She just up and disappeared one day. I never saw or heard from her again, but I do still think about her sometimes. She lived a hard life and endured more than anyone should ever have to. Wherever she is, I sincerely hope that she's doing okay. That's the worst part about people that are mentally ill, that are just like, here you go, here's the world. There's nothing for them. And then the worst part is the world also them treats them like garbage. That is like the double, that's like, oh, you're down? Let us kick you more. Like, it's the worst. We're the only country that does that, by the way.
I know what song Jackson Browne wrote for her.
Oh my gosh. Okay, my husband.
Must have been somebody's baby.
Oh my god, did anybody hear that? My husband said, I know what song Jackson Browne wrote for her. As I'm sitting here pleading for these poor people, tell me the name of the song that Jackson Browne wrote for her.
She must have been somebody's baby.
Did anyone hear that? She must have been somebody's baby. My gosh.
You can hear that song on Fast Times at Richmond High.
Jesus. Oh my god. Let's see. This one says psychologist. Psychologia fantastica. It's non-deliberate, non-conscious, but constantly making up stories about oneself. Every session with this guy, he was someone else, did other work, lived somewhere else. Nothing to go on. He just made everything up as he went along. That's entertaining as heck. I would just keep asking him questions. As long as you're not using anyone's name, it's completely confidential. People don't understand what Hipaa is. As I know where you're going with this. My husband's still singing She Meth the Been Somebody's Baby down the hallway, by the way. The only time, it's just like defamation. The only time any of it is crossing the line of the law is when you use someone's actual name, and then in this case, use their actual name and then link them to the disorder. That is violating the doctor-patient privacy law. You can talk about these all you want to. They're not associated with anyone's, no one's personal information is in here. So yeah. Same thing with Hipaa. People don't understand Hipaa at all. Like here's an example of a violation of Hipaa. A place that I used to work at a long time ago had this like thing where they would try to like basically were telling, like, they had a way of monitoring this one thing that you did in their system. And at one time, they had a list of people's names on the board and who did this thing wrong, how many times they did it, and how wrong they did it. That was a violation of Hipaa. And we all, even the ones that weren't listed as doing something wrong because our names are up there, we all could have had a lawsuit against our company for doing that one action. That is a violation of Hipaa. Having someone's private information shared is a violation of Hipaa.
Ain't nobody should know I have Count Chocolatus.
Count Choculatus. Hot dog fingers. Oh my goodness. We're going back and forth between real reality and not so reality, which is very fitting for this.
Spontaneous dental hydroplosion.
Oh, well, let's see if this is... I don't know if this is real or not. So this one says, I have something called Psychotic Fever. When I was small, staying away from my mom for more than a few hours would lead to super high fever and vomiting and whatnot. Even to this day, I'm 18 now. If I think my mom is sick or has been hurt, or even if she's in a bad mood, I get a fever and a headache. It's gotten to the point where even if she speaks in a slightly tired voice, I get worked up. That is trauma. That's a trauma bond. It's not something I can control, and I feel bad for my mom since she has to constantly remain happy around me or I fall sick. It only happens with my mom and not my dad. Overall, it may send you to the hospital, but would totally recommend 11 out of 10. What? That's messed up. Let's see. Whoa, psychotherapist here. This one's short, but very... The most interesting work was with a mass murderer, a psychopath who killed people in brutal ways. It was interesting to see how he enjoyed pain, and nothing could stop him from killing. So they put him in a single cell for life. Why? What is that doing for him or anyone else? Like, what is the point of this existence? You can never let him out. When I was a student, we had a case study on a patient who was a schizophrenic. He lived a very well-adjusted life. He was a successful accountant, had a family. He just also believed that Russian agents were after him 24/7, and during his episodes would more or less believe he was in a spy movie. Now, I know what you're thinking. The Russians are messed up, so maybe. Yeah, I was thinking that. But he was genuinely a normal dude, not important to our government or theirs, unless he had done some accounting for them. Like if they had a client and he was the accountant for them, and it was linked to them somehow. It's not the craziest thing in the world. We are being squirrels ourselves. Oi.
I'm all squirrel all day.
All squirrel, all the time. Squirrel radio.
Squirrel radio.
Okay, I see like a couple channels, and they're bigger channels, who have horror radio 24/7, which basically you have to get this software. I think it's free. I don't know. I haven't tested it out. Every time I test out a new thing, there's a learning curve to it. So, I don't know.
Weren't you on something like that?
That was horror radio. That's not what I'm talking about. Anyways, it's a channel like mine. And they take a playlist. Like you create a playlist. And then you take that playlist and put it into software for your channel. And then you can have stories streaming 24/7. It's like a live stream, like people could talk and everything. But I never see them talking to anyone on there. I think they have mods that talk, like moderators that talk to people, but I don't know. It's crossed my mind. Oh, now back to story. Is that what you're saying? Get back to reading the stories, squirrel. I had a professor who had a patient who bought a 6-pack of cheap beer and took it home to drink. Midway through the first one, he noticed something in the beer, little pieces of something solid. He poured the rest of the beer in a glass, and it was full of insect parts. He immediately started vomiting violently and couldn't drink beer at all after the experience. They had to go through a long process of gradual exposure before he could get back to drinking beer. My professor said he published an article on the experience and titled it A Case of Beer Phobia. What? Wow. I'm so glad you posted that, whoever you were. Sociopath in a youth. I worked with a child who had detailed plans on how he was going to murder his entire family.
That's Stewie.
He physically attacked people his age and adults and had moments of remorse, but never wavered with me on his plans for his parents. This was a very hard case for me. Made me rethink my option on gun restrictions. What? Factitious disorder imposed on another, previously called Munchausen syndrome by proxy. That's like that girl that the mom made everyone think she had cancer and all kinds of things, and the girl ended up killing her mom. She's in prison right now for it. But why did any of these doctors let that mom get away with that? Like, you test someone for cancer, you know if they have cancer. She had these people giving her daughter chemotherapy, and she wasn't sick. No one protected her. Like, what else was she supposed to do? Her mom made her be in a wheelchair, pretend to be on the wheelchair so her mom could get things. So she could be the Munchausen by proxy, whatever. That's crazy. I heard that, Mike. Someone said. I don't know what he said. My God, it's not going to kill you. You can give me, or do you want a wrench to be a moderator for you? That would be cool. Yeah. Yeah. I'd have to. It would be crazy. I don't know how anybody keeps up with that, because you know how, like, sometimes there used to be a few people that would occasionally come into the chat and would be like disgusting or whatever, and you just got to kick them out. But if you have like a bunch of things going all the time, there's no way that you catch it all the time. So you have to have moderators. Anyways, let's see here. Okay, the mom who was a nurse was injecting her daughter with urine in her kidneys to pretend like she had some sort of kidney disease, if I remember correctly. They were going to remove a kidney when they found out.
You're insane if you do that.
You're insane. Oh my God. Wow, you're hot. You're on the hot take, man. This one says, I ain't no psychologist, but as a former mental health worker, I would say meth-induced psychosis is pretty interesting. I also find catatone schizophrenia to be quite baffling. Okay. Thank you for your medical diagnosis. Let me see here. Primary care physician. But I have seen fully ado. It's a shared delusional disorder while working inpatient. It was an older teen schizophrenic who inflicted herself on a younger preteen sister who was not schizophrenic. When put on different units, the younger one greatly improved, while the older one got worse. Then suddenly the younger one declined, and we found that the older one was using other patients to deliver notes back and forth. The older one ended up living in a long-term mental care facility, and the younger one was discharged home without a problem. Wow. One person I went to school with went nuts and killed his family, was crazy, and never thought he would be the one to snap. That's awful. Do you think there were signs that it could have been stopped? It's the ones you never expect to go crazy that go crazy. Cotard's delusion, often an associated symptom of severe dissociative depression. Cotard's delusion, I hope I'm saying that right, is the belief that one has died and is either a reanimated zombie, zombified bodily husk of their former self, or that they have died and the events of the present are taking place in some sort of afterlife. Hey, listen, there's times when I wake up, I'm like, am I dead? Because this seems like yesterday. How would you know? Do you know what I mean?
There's been a couple times I've gone to bed where I didn't think I was ever going to wake up.
That's awful. Oops. Oh no, I thought I just did something to this My God. Oh my gosh. Um. Okay, that they've died and the events of the present are taking place in some sort of afterlife. People with Cotards sometimes report that they can feel their internal organs shutting down or rotting and no longer have a need for sustenance, sleep, or bodily care, which of course exacerbates the illness. It's extremely rare, but I did once meet a person in a not clinical setting that told me at the worst point of their depression they'd stopped eating and sleeping properly because they had disassociated so thoroughly from their body they no longer registered that they had one at all, and would feel confused or startled when the people, the living, would acknowledge them in public. They didn't have any solid support systems at the time, so the delusion was also born from social isolation. One can go weeks without proper human interaction, which edifies the belief that if one is dead, invisible to the world. Personally, I think this speaks to the perils of a profoundly disconnected society that no longer values or prioritizes community and human bonds, but that's a rant for another time. Yeah, but you chose to start that there, didn't you? Didn't you? I don't think there was signs, but in the trials he didn't really show remorse either, so something was definitely wrong up in his head. So do you guys remember me saying someone that I hired that formerly worked for me? Phew, it's been over a year, right? I'm trying to think, how long ago did I hire that guy? A year ago, November. Well, he was supposed to have a hearing. He ended up killing some lady, and he worked with us, and he was clearly unhinged. Multiple people, including. Anyways, I just, that crossed my mind when you said that, and I still have to look it up. There's no information on the trial or what happened in its hearing or whatever, but yikes. That just made me think about that. Let's see here. Very late, but I learned about a very interesting disorder that could explain a lot of mysterious disappearances. Disassociative fugue. It's a form of amnesia where basically you forget your entire life, usually travel somewhere and just start a new identity, all without intention. There have been a few cases of missing persons being found years later under a new name with no memory of their past life. In some cases, where they were missing for only a few years, only to suddenly reappear, remember their past life, and reappear. It usually is caused by stress, not by physical trauma. It's super interesting. Oof. I'm not a medical professional, but I have an interesting case. My boyfriend has some mental health issues, but he has something where he can't control what he says. He will verbally, on impulse, say his intrusive thoughts, usually about the unaliving and always in third person. We've seen many doctors, psychiatrists, counselors, therapists. Most diagnosis we've gotten was it's his OCD and depression. Huh? Oh, that's not correct. Let's see here. Sometimes, I don't know if this is, if they don't say that they're a doctor psychologist, then I don't know. This person said, I'm diagnosed with this and I'm working on it. Several people to be able to live again. I think a trigger for me was a constant, oh, wait a minute. That's a reply to something. I have to go up to where the ad original thing is here. Okay. This one is long. This is what that's called Tourette's syndrome. Tourette's syndrome? What's Tourette's syndrome?
Tourette's. When you blurt out stuff.
Not Tourette's. Tourette's. Like Tretz. Tourette's is what you're thinking of. Derealization, depersonalization disorder. Everything is different. Everything is the same. Nothing has changed. Everything has changed. People don't even know that nothing, which has changed, even existed in the first place. Okay, so basically, it goes on and on. Basically, what I think it is, it's when something traumatic has happened, and then you're spiraling into, what is this reality? What's happening? Type of thing. But yeah. Let's see. My aunt is a big psychiatrist in her city, and she was treating this man who fell in love with her. She waved it off as recovery. Her husband was in the army, and they moved when his base changed. She moved to a different state. One day she was coming out of her home. In our country, army people have specific areas where they live with family members, and they're heavily protected and safe. She came out to go to the market and get some veggies, and when the man came up to her and went like, "Where'd you go? I kept waiting for you. I've left everything now. Get your stuff so we can go start our new life." She handled the situation, came back home, and started crying. The man turns out to think that she was his dead wife. It was a weird situation. No one got hurt. He got relocated to a different state and got help and is normal now, I guess. Okay, so the person that wrote that was not the psychologist. Sometimes it's hard to read things when they're written in a, non-righty way. Oh, okay. It was Tourette's? Is it Tourette's when you just shout out weird things that your mind is thinking, like intrusive thoughts, like I do? I'm sure I have at least 4 mental conditions, none of that are serious. They're just entertaining to most people, except for me. They're internal torture, but whatever. There was one up here. Vignettes. No. Both of my parents have schizophrenia, and I really notice how they react differently than usual when it's more. Okay, for example, my mother thought for months that she was going to die and was seeing and hearing weird things. She didn't describe what she said, it was too weird, but she really thought she was going to die and used to hide in her room and cry because she was scared. My dad was always kind of scared of people around him when he was alive. He thought everyone was here to kill him or bring him back to prison. He was very traumatized of it. Even though people seemed normal to me, he always was pretty cold to people, then told me later that this guy was sus or stuff. At the end of his life, it became worse. He thought of an old friend was going to come and kill him, even though he didn't speak to that friend for years. He showed me that he had 2 guns in case the guy tried to attack him. He would also cry every time I saw him and seemed exhausted. He ended his own life there. My mom is okay now. She takes medicines and it works. She seems pretty normal, even though she's easily stressed and still doesn't trust people easily. She's really brave and even managed to get her driver's license 2 years ago. She only drives in our own city for now, but that's really huge for me. Oh, wow. That's really rare to have 2 parents that are both schizophrenic. You copy what people say? Who copies what people say? What? Oh, when you have Tourette's, you do? Trying to make a tangy, sweet bechamel sauce with cream cheese and sour cream for a tang. Wish me luck. Oh, okay. I had a class in college with a girl with Tourette's. Oh, yeah. I don't know if that stress, like, would it be more stressful for people to know that you had Tourette's, and therefore, because people know that makes you stressed out, and then because of the stress, then your Tourette's is like triggered, and yeah, so it's like a never-ending cycle. That would be torturous. So this girl isn't, I read this earlier, so this girl isn't a psychologist, but this is her take on it. So, that everybody you have ever seen as completely bonkers had a reality that they believed was just as real as yours. That the computers in the neighbor's basement were controlling his thoughts were just as real as her roses. You don't question those roses, do you? Are those roses real? Of course they are. You can see them, smell them. Everyone else can see them, right? And that reality is so real and so fractured sometimes. Those are roses, right? I remember my grandmother loved every one of them. I remember what they smelled like. I remember the feeling of the thorns in my hands. And now I know that my grandmother never had roses. I've asked family, not that that was a reality that they shared. You have no idea how real your reality is until it isn't. Ooh, that's rough. Ooh. Oh my God, tall guy's having a cooking show over on his land there. I'd do a cooking show, but I think it would be super boring because usually I turn on something on YouTube or sing when I'm in the kitchen. Or go, ow! I hurt myself. This says, I used to work in a children's home and had two girls who were very similar. Number one would go missing from care every night. Would phone 999 claiming she had done XYZ and was unaliving tendencies. Hospital would see nothing was wrong. Send her home. Next day, she would do it again. Hospital knew her on site in the end. One time she said she thought her appendix had burst or something like that. My colleague, a trained technician in the ambulance service, asked if she had XYZ symptoms, and she would go, oh yeah, and move her hand to that specific area, and the colleague said, there's nothing wrong with you. She never tried it with him again. She would also tell all the staff she was going to unalive them, in a deadpan voice. She said it to me, and I said, okay, can you wait till after my wedding, though? She never did it with me again because I didn't react how she wanted me to. Claimed she had been assaulted by a stranger whilst on a whisper. Police took it very seriously because she went through with a report. Until it became evident she had no idea what she was saying. Number two, this girl was a pathological liar and delusional. She said she had 2 kids. She was 16 and never had any kids. That her aunt and uncle adopted, showed pictures, and kids were spitting images of their parents. Said she was engaged. Said she was a professional ice skater before hurting her back. Made some assault claims against a foster father. There was no evidence of this. Therapists basically discovered that these events may have happened, but they happened to other people and not to her. She heard of these things and then applied them to herself and fully believed them. She was severely neglected as a child, and her mother was an absolute waste of oxygen. So this girl was doing this for the attention. That's awful. Both girls would also excessively self-harm in a competition with each other, and another girl who was severely depressed and legitimately self-harming. As soon as this girl moved into a different home, it stopped. The first girl would just slash her arms haphazardly in order to make them more obvious and would make the biggest fuss about them. One has me wrap cellophane around her arm to stop her from self-harming. The other was more genuine, and you could tell when it was genuine self-harm because the cuts would be really small and she wouldn't make a big deal out of it. That's really sad. You know how people, like, someone will say, oh, are you funny? Tell me a joke, clown. And then they can't think of anything funny. Same thing if you ask me to sing. You gotta catch me off guard in my own habitat. Long story short, I was in choir from the time I was 8 at school and church. And the culmination of that came when my mother and my school choir leader demanded that I perform at my high school graduation. I've never sang in public again. That's the end of that story. They kind of sucked the joy out of it. Yeah. But I did discover that you can buy a wireless microphone on Amazon, And then simultaneously, you can find karaoke channels on YouTube, and then you can have your own karaoke party in your living room for the magical price of, I think the microphone was $29.99, or in your car, whatever. If you have Bluetooth or a cord that the microphone comes with. Let's see. This thing scrolled up a little bit because I moved it. A colleague of mine encountered a client with Alice in Wonderland syndrome. We all thought he was joking and quickly learned that such a diagnosis is indeed quite real and fascinating. So I'll save you a search. Alice in Wonderland syndrome, AIWS, is a rare neurological disorder characterized by distortions of visual perception, the body image, and the experience of time. So, yeah, just like Alice in Wonderland, where everything's wonky and misshapen. I want to read one more from here that I saw earlier, and it was a guy from Optics. Hopefully it didn't get deleted, because I guess sometimes they delete things. Oh no, I can't read that one because it's too gross. And then we're going to move on to night shift stories. Dun dun dun. Trying to find it here. Ooh. No way, that one was gross. So sorry, I'm trying to find the one that had Optics in it, because I found that one fascinating and I thought you guys would too. But if I can't find it, no big deal. We'll just move on to night shift stories. Hey. Oh, meth-induced psychosis. No. Sorry, I wanted to find this here. Sorry, I'm still here. I'm just trying to find this. I'm only going to look for like one more second before I know. Because this person said it messed them up once they discovered this. If I can't find it, I'll just have to like post it somewhere else on another time. Darn it. There's so many, I can't believe how many people post to Reddit, like nonstop. It's insane. Okay, I'm just going to move on. Bad shroom trip. No lie. We have a guy that lives in our town that rides around on a bike, and usually, I haven't seen him in a while, so I hope he's okay. But he, supposedly, the story is that he took too much acid when he was younger, and he never came back from it. So it'll be 90 degrees outside, and he'll have on a winter hat, and then his helmet over that, and then a bunch of clothes and a winter coat, and then he'll be riding his bike for miles and miles around town. I haven't seen the guy in a while, so I don't know. It's very easy to spot him. Very easy to spot him, but I haven't seen him in a while, so let's see here. We're gonna do night shift stories. I just gotta get... Ooh. Reddit. People ask some weird questions on Reddit, let me tell you that. Oh, wait. Has anybody asked Reddit a question? I thought about 4 of them that I wanted to. Like, what's your intrusive thought that you don't tell other people about? But people would have to make like a fake account just to admit it. Night shift workers. Creepiest things to happen to you. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, okay. All right, this is night shift workers. What's the creepiest thing that's happened to you while on the job? So I travel as an RN. Did a stint in Warren, Pennsylvania, PA, right? Worked on a cardiac floor but got pulled down to the CCU. I have not pre-read this, so I don't know what's going to be said here. Hopefully I have enough foresight if it's really bad. Patient kept saying she saw dark figures in her room, standing behind the door and staring at her from the corner. I assured her no one was there, that she was probably dreaming. She said BS, and I told her, well, next time she sees them, ring her bell. About an hour goes by, and I hear her yell, and then her bell comes on. I walk to the room, and right before I get there, I hear the bathroom door shut, thinking that the patient is in the bathroom. I walk in, and she's in the bed, and she looks at me calmly and says, she's in the bathroom. I open the door. No one was there. Odd, but I still didn't think much of it. Patient wasn't confused or on any kind of mind-altering meds. She insisted a nurse kept coming in and out and just standing there in the dark and staring at her. It was literally just me and another nurse working the small 6-bed unit. I thought it was weird, but forgot about it, and then a few months later, I get pulled down to that unit again. Middle of the night, patient in the same room rings his bell and goes in and says, what's up with this nurse that keeps coming in and just standing there? Who is she? My heart sank and started pounding, and it was the same room, same story, months apart. Insane. Got to talking to other nurses, and they said that unit is definitely haunted. Oh, nice warning. Thanks for the warning. Gosh. I work as a baker for a small bakery in a tourist town, and I'm regularly at work around midnight most nights. I'm pretty close to the local strip of bars and clubs, so I hear late night partygoers. Excuse me. Quite often. Sirens a few times a night, people yelling, that kind of stuff. The weirdest, though, which started out creepy but didn't end that way, was when I opened the door around 4 a.m. to someone knocking. The only reason I opened the door was because my boss had literally just texted me that we'd be getting an early delivery. So I just thought that was them. I opened the door and there was no one there. I glanced around thinking they knocked and ran back to their truck to start unloading, which was common. And then suddenly someone steps out of the shadows looking like a slender man. I panic but hold it together pretty well, and once they get out of the shadows, it obviously wasn't Slender Man. It was just a tall, skinny girl with no pants on or shoes and a shirt that obviously wasn't hers. Whew. There's more to it, but it's not scary. Okay, let's see here. Paramedic here. I work in Las Vegas night shift. I used to sit on a busy part of Fremont Street close to bathrooms well lit. One night I see this gangly guy in a trench coat with a half-gallon of Fireball. Walks past screaming at people and disappears. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. A few minutes later, he came back but running. Like he was running away from something. Screaming that he was a ninja and ducking behind cars as he went. Snuck up on me and in front of like 100 people pulls a giant serrated curvy knife out and starts screaming at me. I backed away without him doing anything, but what really gets me is that 100 people walked by without doing anything. You were in Vegas. Did they think it was a street show? Does stuff like that happen in Vegas? I've never been to Vegas, so. Not me, but my uncle used to operate a movie theater in the 80s. After the midnight show, he would shut off the projector, take that day's collection in a bag, lock the theater, walk home. Midnight shift, excuse me, I'm so sorry, I'm yawning a lot. Midnight show usually ends around 2 a.m., and the streets are completely empty during that time. The road to his house is a narrow, unpaved one, can barely fit one car. As he reached the road, he saw a little girl around 12 standing there. Oh no, this sounds like a horror movie waiting to happen, with an expressionless face. My uncle asked, "Why are you here, kid? Where's your home? I'll walk you home." The kid kept giving him a creepy death stare and wasn't saying a word. And after a while, my uncle stopped trying to get her to talk and decided to walk home. He starts walking, and after a while he turned back and the kid was gone. Suddenly he felt a weight on his shoulder as if someone heavy was sitting on his shoulder. He fell to the ground, losing his balance because of the weight. He managed to get up and look around, but no one was seen. He got up, ran home. Still doesn't have an explanation to what had happened. He said the weight he felt was heavier than a 12-year-old girl. Oh my gosh. The comments beneath these are funny. All right. I used to work in a movie theater when the whole clown thing was going on. Was leaving at 1 o'clock in the morning and was parked in a parking garage. There was a person fully decked out in clown gear with a balloon. At first, he was just chilling, but then when I got in my car and was driving away, he started chasing my car. Should have slammed on your brakes to watch that ding-dong bounce off the trunk. It would have been really funny. I would have got out and said, "Who's laughing now?" Ha ha. LA's homeless roll through Vegas as a result. Vegas is only 200 miles from LA, I think. I could walk that 200 miles within a week. Yeah, there's some. I'd like to walk down. So anyways, I won't start on that. It's so easy to go into a rant about the current times that we're living in. This distracts me. I don't know if it distracts you guys and helps relax you, but this distracts me from what is currently going on. So the more that I read right now, ridiculous crap, the better. You will get rich. I will watch you get rich. Let's see. We had someone pull something similar at the movie theater I worked out, but thankfully it was just after 7 o'clock. Wait a minute. Oh, okay. So there was a bunch of us heading home in the parking lot, and a couple of guys went after him swinging garbage bags. He got walloped with one and split it a bit, so he got some soggy popcorn on his costume, and he started cussing the guys out, saying, "It's just a joke, man." No. That was all to terrorize people, so I'm one of the people that would have probably... Yeah, we've already discussed this. Anyway. Was a maintenance tech at a factory that everyone swore was haunted. Came in on a Saturday, and it was me and 3 other guys. I went to get my toolbox and looked out the warehouse, which had automatic lights in it, and all the lights started clicking on in a line. I thought maybe the owner stopped in, as that wasn't uncommon. When they started clicking on, coming the direction of me with no one there, is when I noped out of there. Oh, yikes. That's why it's gambling. Mm-hmm. I would bet that I wouldn't make any money in Vegas. No. If I ever get lucky, it's because I picked out some random scratch card on some random day, and that's how I win the lottery, or a large sum of money. I don't know if you can call it the lottery if you win it from a scratcher. I don't know. Anyway. No one would even know if I was rich anyway. Well, I mean, you would. The bank account would give it away. Worked at an auto assembly plant that was built over an old floor that was about 6 feet below it. Every night when the crews went home, rats the size of cats would come out and grab food leftovers from the garbage cans. It was amazing the small holes they would squeeze through. Oh my God. Don't fall asleep on that floor. Ooh. Worked at a nursing home for people with Alzheimer's. I often would work on nights, and it's usually very quiet. And however, some of the old folks often wake for one reason or another, and sometimes the reason they state is that the boneless man keeps staring at me, or I wish he'd come down from the ceiling, and other interesting things. I also find people who have passed away on occasion, but that's not as creepy as the other things. Ew, the boneless man. What? See, Element, I couldn't just roll the dice and bet on the dice combinations. I'd be watching it. How many times has it rolled on black this number? How many times has it rolled on red this number? What about the center wheel? How many times has it done that? How many, like, I, no. I'm already messing with I'm not even in Vegas. I feel like Rain Man, but like not in the beneficial way. Rain Man that just makes themselves miserable and doesn't benefit from the thought process at all. Oh my gosh. Uh, uh, okay, I'm gonna skip that one because that's a weird one. Worked on a dementia unit, was watching the back camera when I caught a glimpse of something in the back camera. It looked like Samara from The Ring on all fours, and I screamed. One of the aides started laughing at me because it was a patient who was naked and crawled out of their bed. On all fours? Come on. Oh, I think it can be considered winning the lottery if it's $1 million or more. Let's see. I worked nights in a residential home. The washing machine was broken, so we had to take the laundry 50 yards to the day center and use theirs. I set off at 3 a.m. with the laundry. Oh, excuse me. My coworker watches me from the back door of the residential home. I went in, heard a bunch of weird crashing noises, decided to ignore it, and put the laundry in the machine. When it went back to my coworker, she told me that 4 guys dressed in all black just climbed out of the back window. I have no idea what they were hoping to steal from a day center. Tea bags, adult nappies. Oh my gosh. Yikes. This one seems long. All right, maybe it's good. Let's find out. Maybe it's good. I used to be one of the nighttime duty managers at a hotel. The hotel consists of the main house, which was built in the late 90s, early 2000s, and the old house, which was built in the 14th century. Wow. I would love to see that. There's a few spooky stories about the old house and the grounds, which all come from actual events. At one point, it was listed as the 3rd most haunted building in Britain. I wouldn't say that I was a believer or denier of ghost stories. I thought some events can be explained and some can't. Being a local farmer, I was familiar with all the stories that my dad had worked there for years when I started. Like I say, I wasn't a believer, I wasn't a denier. That was until I became a duty manager. Being a duty manager is a simple enough role, dealing with complaints from hotel guests, handing over to the next duty manager, etc. One of my duties as a nighttime duty manager, let me say duty one more time, was to lock up areas of both parts of the hotel, duty. Places like the bar, duty. Restaurant and gift shop, duty. Other things such as making sure fire doors are closed, duty. That emergency lighting is working, duty. Closing and locking windows for security, duty. The duty squad. This part of the job was extensive. Every window, fire door, and emergency lighting, duty. Had to check this every single night. Now, the old house is where all the spooky stuff happens. And the old house is a chapel, pretty standard for a house of that size and age in Britain. That's creepy. That's super creepy. You know it's haunted. This is where I experienced the first spooky thing. Of course you did. There's one window in the chapel that no matter how many times you close and lock that window, the next time you walk past it, it'll be open again. Of course. Of course. This was experienced by myself and other duty managers and even the security guards. I'm going to say duty like that if it comes up again. Nothing horrifying, but it gets worse. The next spot is a set of stairs called the Jerusalem Staircase. Jeez. Named so as the wood for the stairs comes from Jerusalem. The audacity to put that in their house. But that was in the 13th century or 14th century. So I guess it wouldn't be like if someone did that now. Some stories about a ghost dog on these stairs that trip people up. I don't think anything of this. It's stairs. People trip on stairs all the time. Yeah, I'm one of those people. However, they lead to a room called the Long Gallery. Now, this is a very long room, close to 100 meters. Other than the length, there's nothing else to the room. Doing my duty rounds one night, and I come in to do my checks as normal when I suddenly can hear heavy footsteps coming from the other side of the room, which is possible. There are guest rooms at the other end. I shine my torch down the room and can see absolutely nothing. Then it gets scary. The footsteps slowly become harder and faster until they sound like someone is sprinting toward me. I'm frozen. Next thing I know, whack. I've been shoved against the wall with pain in my back, stomach, and chest like I've been tackled. There's a similar room directly above, but that's only accessible to duty managers and security. Again, not the only person to experience this. The last coop relate to a confirmed murder in the house. It's a long story, so I'll give the... What's TLDR? TLDR? Anyways, Lord of the house and his wife are expecting a baby. Lord has heard a rumor that his wife had an affair. Had a local nurse abducted and brought to the house to deliver the baby. Baby then snatched by the Lord and thrown into the fireplace and murdered his wife. Nurse escapes and curses the family, saying no male heir will be born to the family. The curse kind of came true, because no male heir has survived long after birth. Now, the bedroom where these events took place is a popular part of the house, with guests visiting all the time. However, it's not the real room. That's directly above it. I've been in the room more times than I can count. Reports of a crying baby are common but never proved. One thing never reported was blood dripping from the ceiling. As mentioned, the real bedroom is directly above it, so myself and security investigated. We found nothing, not even a drop of blood. The second part is about Are you going to bed? Oh. The second part is about a sculpture in the chapel of one of the male heirs that died shortly after birth as a result of the curse. The sculpture is pretty normal looking, baby in cloth with his eyes closed. Apart from one night, the eyes were open. I ran so fast out of that chapel, I'm pretty sure I broke the land speed record. The hotel, if you are interested, is called Little Coat House Hotel. Whoa. Dang. The NBA playoffs is going on right now. I'll be right back. Wow. Okay. Have I lost you guys now? Is everyone bored to death? Working on a mine site in Western Australia. Probably going to just read a couple more and then we're going to wrap it up. The lowdown right now. That should be TL. Oh. The lowdown right now. No. No. Too long. Don't read. Okay. Okay. Working on a mine site in Western Australia as a security medic. Sitting at my desk at like 2 a.m. with a view of access to the road site, which is about 1.5 hours from the nearest town. Someone is walking down the access road and I can see him clearly. The dust is kicking up as he walks. The site itself was shut down. There's only 3 other workers aside from me. I rang them. They told them I have someone approaching my office and to call and check back with me in 5 minutes to make sure I've not been murdered. In preparation of my expected conversation with this man, I open the window to my office so I can speak to him. He gets about 10 meters away from me and just fades and disappears into nothingness. I close the window, lock it, walk back in the office and call my colleague, demanding he come and pick me up. Colleague is probably what they meant to write. When he does, he advises me someone died in the break room, near my office after being shot in a bikie gang-related incident nearby. I thought he was just trying to freak me out even more, but then I found a coroner's report, and it was true. I found the guy's photo and it gave me goosebumps. 100% the same guy I saw walking toward my office. Whoa. Whoa. Oh, man. Was unloading a trailer with forklift. However, we got a lot of damaged products, so we have a giant blue dumpster thing that's on the dock right next to it. So I'm pulling out a pallet in order to put the pallet in its spot. I have to back out passing that dock door. The trash dock door is open in the corner of my eye. I see a dumpster diver's head just peeping over. Scared the crap out of me. Oh, that one was a naughty one. Okay, never mind. There's an older hospital that had a unit blocked off, abandoned future repairs. It was an adolescent unit. It was always pitch black. No lights worked, and it still had hospital equipment with children's toys in it. Back in my security guard days, on the rare occasion I'd be sent to this hospital to conduct an interior and exterior patrol. It would always be at the worst hours ever, like 2 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Patrolling the hospital overall wasn't bad. It was like any other hospital. But it was mandatory that I patrolled the creepy unit. I'm already on edge because it's early in the morning and naturally my mind was already playing tricks with me. Okay. Playing tricks with me. I'm so sorry. I got distracted. What's new? Okay, I grab my flashlight and begin walking the unit. Upon entering, I hear whispering. A man's voice whispering. I couldn't make out what he was saying, but it instantly sent chills down my spine. I have a hard time believing in paranormal, and I had a hard time believing this was my mind screwing with me. I was getting uneasy and wanted to turn back around, but I'm the security guard. It's my job. I start to approach the nursing station, and that's when the whispers got louder. Flashed my light in every direction. My eyes suddenly met with a frail, elderly man in a blue hospital gown. He was hunched over and sitting underneath a desk. It was a patient with dementia, and I don't know how he got access to the unit, and I don't know how long they were gone for. I didn't ask questions. I let the nurses know, walked the patient back to the proper unit, and quit night shift after that. Seriously, way to keep track of your patients. What the heck? Let's see. Not mine, but my coworker's story. I need a sip of water, which is probably going to lead to some sort of gurgling into the microphone, so you are all welcome in advance. Does anybody else go through phases where they love or hate water? I'm going through my I love water right now phase. Ooh. Okay. Let's see here. All right. Not mine, but my coworker's story. We'll call them Beck. Sorry, I'm trying not to burp into the microphone because I feel like that water is going to make me burp. They used to work at a gas station. At night, you could only pay for gas by anything through this little window thingy. You couldn't go inside the building. One night, a guy walks up to the window and asks for a beer or two. He was old, basically looked like a drunkard, also visibly under the influence, so Beck politely told him, "I'm sorry, but we can't sell you any alcohol." The man started cussing them out and saying he'll kill them. My coworker shrugs it off and just threatened to call the police. The guy walks away mad, mumbling something under his breath. Some time passes and Beck notices him again, and this time he came with an axe. He started swinging it at the glass. I have no idea how it didn't break, and yelling. Of course, Beck was terrified, immediately called the police and security, but the guy had already run off by the time they arrived. Just listening to this gave me chills, because plus it was my first day at work at a gas station, may I add. Wait, what? I said it was my coworker story. Oh, okay. So their coworker told them the story right when they're starting working there. That was a jerk move. That's funny. No, I have a random state selector. Select it. But the other day, I was doing it and it kept picking a state. I'm like, I don't want to do that one. I don't want to do that one. I don't know. I need to make it scarier for me. I'm so sorry. It's boring me. I want it to be exciting. If it's exciting for me, then I feel like it's going to be exciting for you guys. I don't know. Anyways, um let's see. This one says I worked third shift at a home for the developmentally disabled. I This will probably be my last story cuz I can tell I'm having a hard time pronunciating things. Oh lord. Our state hospital had shut down and left a bunch of families with nowhere to place their developmentally disabled family members who were in need of more care than families can provide. One such parent founded and built a series of homes for this population, and it became a successful option for these families and their loved ones. Okay, that's great. Why does this get bad? The homes were set up with 4 bedrooms, a bathroom, laundry room, and a kitchen on both sides with an enormous pantry connecting the two. On each side, there was a front door, parking lot, sliding glass door leading out to a patio, and a generous fenced yard. I'm so sorry, I just yawned. Each night, there was one person assigned to each side of the home, and when we arrived to work for night shift, the residents of these homes were usually already asleep. It was our job to check on them at intervals and do prep work for meals and such for first shift. One night in particular, I was working opposite a guy I just met, but he was pretty great. Felt immediately comfortable with him. I'm in the kitchen after making food for the next day and was cleaning out the fridge and food that was over 3 days old when I got this intense feeling of being watched from behind. I turned around toward the scalped window in the door and saw a face of a young girl who was clearly developmentally disabled in the window. It startled me, especially since she wasn't one of our residents. She looked distraught, and as I was moving toward her and making eye contact, she disappeared. There one moment and then just gone. I was understandably pretty freaked out. I went through the pantry to the opposite side of the house to tell my coworker what had just happened, and I described her in great detail. And as I did so, his face just went white and he ran off to another room and came back with a photo album. He opened it to a certain page and sat it down on the counter and said, "There she was. The girl. That's her," and pointed to her face in the picture. He then had a pretty big freak out and said we were doing everything together for the rest of the night because it just pointed to a former resident who had died in the parking lot. She had an emergency and an ambulance had been called, but they hadn't made it out of the parking lot before she passed away. Now I try to find rational explanations for things like this, but I'm not ashamed to say that my blood ran cold that night, and we did, in fact, do everything together for the remainder of that night. It's not a scary story, but I can understand why it would be disturbing, especially if it was someone that, you worked closely with this resident for a while, and then they died unexpectedly like that. Yeah. Do you know what state you're doing? Okay, no. Flagpole, Sita, Harvey Danger. It's just a line in the song. Oh. When you do New Jersey, there's a story I want to see if you do, but I'm not saying what it is. Well, like the last state that I did, there was like 30 of them that I found. Some of them were just like a sentence, and I couldn't find anything else about it. It depended on which website from the state. There was like a bunch of them. There was 3 specific ones, and all of the lists were different. It's very confusing. So we'll see. Everybody knows that New Jersey has that one bat-like creature. I can't remember what it's called. The Jersey Devil, isn't it? Isn't that the Jersey Devil? That's the most common one. I think this one's going to be the last one here. There's been a few incidents that unsettled or creeped me out on closing shift, but I think the creepiest was the time we actually had to call the cops. When I worked retail, I would sometimes be put on as closing cashier with our assistant store manager. It would just be me and her working. We had locked the door for the night and gone into the corner office to count cash. But a few minutes later, someone was shouting and banging on the windows. I can't remember exactly what she said, but she wanted inside. The only windows in the office was a two-way mirror that looked over the registers, so when I stood up to see who it was, I managed to see a woman in a blue shirt just moved out of sight from the outside window. Now, when I'm on cashiering for the night shifts, I'm supposed to follow the manager or bank to drop off for our deposit. With that incident, the AM called our store manager, and he advised calling the cops if it seemed unsafe to go out to do the run. On top of the woman, there was also a white van inside of the store. We have a ton of creeps visit our store, so we did have concerns that maybe someone was trying to take advantage of the only people working were two ladies. The assistant manager calls the cops and explains what happened. Then they came within a few minutes. They were very assuring. They even checked out the van for us. Once the van was cleared, they offered to escort us to the banks just to be safe. And once that was done, we went our separate ways. I did end up discovering the story of the lady, however. Either the next day or later that week, the woman returned during store hours. She forgot her bag in the store and was trying to get back in to get it. I was relieved it wasn't anything nefarious, but I think both me and the store manager were frustrated that all the hassle was from someone forgetting their bag. Overall, it was a creepy incident that ended up being a result of a misunderstanding. Well, she could have had meds in there. Let's just revisit the list of stories that we read before. Would explain a lot. Jersey Shore Devil. Yeah, I think we've all seen the reality shows of the Jersey Devils. No, it's a good one. Really? I don't know. Maybe let's just do Jersey next. I swear. If these things don't get scarier soon, I swear. Some of them just aren't scary. I think they're interesting. They're historical, which I love. Most of them are about history. Which, if people don't learn about history, it repeats itself and then it becomes scary all over again. But I think it's fascinating. I just don't think that it's scary. I don't know why it has to be scary, but in my head it has to be scary. Anyways, I think that we'll just have to do Jersey next. And I will be diving into the Akashic record for my evening spiral into madness. So I hope you guys have a good night. Thanks for joining me. I'd like to do live streams more often, but I was going to do it early this morning, and then I thought, no, I'll just record some stories for tonight. And then when I recorded it, I sounded like a freaking robot. So now here we are. So next time I'll just do a live stream early in the morning, because I feel like that would catch some people before they went to work too. So all right. Thanks for joining me, you guys. It was fun and junk. It was fun. Anyways, okay. I'm gonna say good night. And no, I don't think anyone else is requesting any other states. If they are, I'm really sorry. I'm blanking on that right now, but I'm pretty sure you brought up Jersey a couple times now, Element. So let's just do Jersey. All right, Jersey on Saturday. Be there, or I guess you'll watch it later. You guys have a good night. Thanks for coming. Bye. Hope you feel better, Tank. Bye.